I'm sure you people already know this by now, and I'm sure there has been countless videos on this topic about Death Stranding and questioning the quality behind it. Look, I know people are excited for this game, mostly the PlayStation fan base, because of the apparent exclusivity for now for Death Stranding, unless it comes on PC and all of that is squashed, right? So this is Kojima's quirky new sci-fi game, and I would say some of the current presentations, not the ones in the past, but most of the current presentations we saw on Death Stranding right now have been thoroughly abysmal in my eyes. Let's ask the simple question: what is this game? What is it? What exactly do we do outside of walking around on terrain, outside of putting your poop into bottles and making grenades, outside of toilet humor, outside of toilet prompts, outside of one of the collectibles being sperm and eggs? What is happening with this game? Now, when they first announced it, I was thoroughly intrigued, not only because of the Konami stuff and Kojima, jumping ship and making his own studio. It was because he was reforming with Norman Reedus. He was bringing Del Toro back in the game, and it looked like a very promising project at first. Like, I was very intrigued by the world and all the crustaceans being dead and the idea of strands, and it just looked awesome from the outset at first. Everything was so mysterious yet interesting, and this was a world we'd never seen before, and I was like quite intrigued by that. Like the babies putting their hands over Reedus, the idea of the strands pulling us into a world where people look like they are visibly dead and visibly affected by this world with the ink everywhere and the beings in the air. I thought that was amazing. And then the quality of Death Stranding started to degrade for me in terms of presentation. The quality really started to become questionable because Kojima has this weird ideology that he cannot show people what they actually want to see. Now, I know a lot of people criticize Metal Gear Solid for also being funny, wacky, and quirky, and not so serious in the most serious moments, even though Metal Gear has serious moments about the tones of war and why war is a very bad thing. So I really don't know how that opinion really factors into anything, but they have a solid throughput of what Metal Gear is. It's a stealth game. It's an idea that Kojima pitched to Konami when he first created the original Metal Gear game, and it was an idea that Konami thought wasn't going to work, but it was something very interesting, and it did take off into a bigger franchise. A stealth game is all about not being seen by the enemy, not being detected, running away, avoiding firefights, hiding until you get the drop on said enemies. And I thought that gameplay was very, very unique and very, very distinct at the same time. We had a basic understanding of how stealth gameplay worked along with gunplay, and it had a story behind it. Death Stranding, not so much. It's like this open world where you go around and you have to do stuff. Okay, it's like you're an Amazon carrier boy. There is shooting combat segments, but they look so vague and few and far between in comparison that you really don't get a glimpse of what exactly you're doing when you go into the Strand world. Maybe Kojima is saving that as a surprise? But then again, he put out a 49-minute gameplay presentation, and all we got was about a few snippets of something interesting, and that was it. All of that was a good bulk of nothing. Alright? I think we have finally given Kojima the keys to the kingdom, and because he has those keys, it's like he's gone full-blown weird, dude. Full-blown strange, full-blown eccentric, and it really, really worries me when articles come out and they illustrate that Kojima has no idea where to take the direction of Death Stranding. He has no idea what to even do with this game, quote unquote, And there's also the idea that he's introducing sequels to explain the strand mechanic. It's like, if you don't get it right the first time, you're not going to succeed the second time unless you get really lucky. I don't get this game. I don't understand it. I just wish that, like, here's my wish, right? Here's my fucking full-blown wish that you need to comprehend and understand. I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, they could be pulling a mind fuck like they did with Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, right? This happened when they decided to implement Raiden into the game, and Snake was basically just put on the back burner. The whole story was about Raiden living out this simulation and all this shit with the Patriots, and it really got metaphorical. It really got preachy at the end, but we loved the idea because the twist was so good. It was really fucking great. It really made us think about the idea of digital information and the control that's being filtered out even to this day by certain people on social media. Stuff that we're not supposed to see, stuff that people don't want us to see, getting out there, and that being the overarching message that when you give people too much control, this stuff happens. And I thought they had a great message when you really understand it and you understand how this stuff is actually affecting modern society, right? I thought it was great. And I'm holding out hope that they have something equivalent to that effect, where the game is probably phenomenal when you finally get your hands on it, right? But everything else just looks really fucking questionable and weird. And I know there is these weird correlations of people saying, well, maybe it's good that Konami kicked Kojima out. No, Konami is a flaming fucking dumpster fire, and I don't think that people should be defending that company at all. I bet you $10,000 that Konami is still putting out less than quality video games. I bet you $10,000 that Konami is still not doing anything pertinent with great IPs like Silent Hill. And I bet you Konami is still putting out patchy slot devices that people really don't give a fuck about in the West. What am I saying? Only the West? I'm talking everywhere. Who gives a flying fuck about Konami and their patchy slot ventures? Except the people who gamble all day in Japan. No one else. No one cares. No one ever cares about what they do with patchy slot devices. The only thing that looks appealing now is Castlevania. I don't know the exact name, but maybe some people can help me, or maybe I will put it in the video in post. But there is a mobile Castlevania they are creating that looks really good, but other than that, that's it. Contra Rogue Core looks like garbage. It looks just like some Neo Contra garbage. I mean, Konami still lost a fantastic person that was leading the charge with their most established IPs, and I don't know how Silent Hills would have turned out. I think we all don't know the answer to that question, but also Silent Hill, at least it has a throughput of what you're supposed to understand with Silent Hill, which is mature psychological horror and storytelling. With Death Stranding, I don't get what the fuck they're trying to be. And that's really not appealing to me in the slightest, due to the fact that I don't know what to expect outside of Kojima possibly going off the deep end with this game. I also feel like Kojima's team, when they made Metal Gear Solid, all this shit, they need more value than it's worth. Kojima is not a single entity that makes all these games work. It's his team, it's his art director, Yoji Shinkawa, who makes all that badass art. It's always a team effort. So kudos to the people that worked on Metal Gear Solid. That's not just Kojima. Kudos to the people that actually coded. That wasn't just Kojima. There's other people that made those games good, and I think people need to stop overlooking that fact and just looking at Kojima's name slapped on the credits constantly over and over and over again, and realize that this is a team effort to make this stuff work. Let's get some common sense here, and let's not live vicariously through just one game designer and that's it. Multiple people deserve their credit too. I don't want to discourage people who are saying, oh, well, I'm kind of interested. Maybe I'm going to buy the game at launch. I don't want to discourage you at all. If you feel like you're going to play the game at launch, more power to you. But for me, I felt like all of the presentations they've shown so far outside of the initial stuff and the initial announcement for Death Stranding has been thoroughly disappointing. Very weird, very fucking strange stuff going on, and I just want some simple gunplay. I just want to see how the other world works in Death Stranding. You know, cut out the middleman, cut out all the bullshit, cut out the BS. I want to see how this stuff works. Maybe show off one boss fight. Just one. You don't have to spoil it. Just show off one. Show how he works, show how he operates, show how the multiplayer works, because apparently there's multiplayer in this game, and I don't think they ever even shown off any of the multiplayer outside of the fact that you can leave strands behind for other teammates to see. That's whack. Show us some co-op, fighting an enemy, something, so we can get a glimpse of more mechanics involved. You know what I mean? I once again think that Sony, they gave Kojima way too much credit, and now they're probably going to be sweating bullets if this game doesn't turn out to be awe-inspiring or even fun. You know, I gave Kojima credit, right? But he is not the most perfect director ever. It's like, even during Metal Gear Solid, I felt like the cutscenes were getting way too long. Everyone knows this was a problem as time went on. I appreciate the story, I appreciate the exposition, but when you have like a cutscene that borders over an hour, and then when you have a cutscene inside of a cutscene, which MGS1 started to do, and Metal Gear Solid 2 started to take that into overdrive, and you don't have enough gameplay behind it, you don't have enough substance to justify all this exposition, then I think you failed at making a game as it got worse as time went on. This is why Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots is not my favorite MGS game, because the cutscenes are just so fucking long at that point. I think MGS3 is my favorite because it's less cutscenes, it's less talking, but you know, you can skip some of the cutscenes, so I think they're good in that regard. At least you can skip them, right? Get straight to the point, skip the codex, go back into gameplay. So there is that silver lining there, but if you want to understand the story for your first playthrough, you have to watch this stuff, and it does take away from the gameplay. It does. It really does. You got to have a good balance of cutscene ratio and gameplay, in my opinion, and I don't think that Kojima fully mastered that yet with MGS. I think on his way out, though, he probably did, because MGS5 barely has any cutscenes to begin with, but it's also an incomplete game. We're not going to go there. I could make an entire 5-hour rant on Metal Gear Solid 5 alone, and the shortcomings that Konami put into place that ruined that game because they got rid of Chapter 3. Guys, all I'm saying is that you can have your opinion if you're still interested in Death Stranding, but for me, I went from cautiously optimistic to kind of disappointed not really getting the game at launch. I kind of want to see how this pans out. I want to see other people talk about it. I know it will be spoilers. I would be totally ruining the experience, but I have to see what other people are talking about, what value Death Stranding has before I become reinterested to buy the game. Look, and another point, just to end off this video, I have no problem with the weird. One of my favorite developers is actually Suda51, the guy who made No More Heroes, which is a game that has all these wacky, crazy, eccentric antagonists that Travis Touchdown has to kill throughout his whole history of Santa Destroy. You know, you got this weird superhero that shoots cock lasers at people in that game, and I love No More Heroes. But when it gets so weird to the point that it's hard to really explain what your game is, and you have no guidance for the future of Death Stranding, that's when you start to get reasonably worried at what direction they're going to take this. Now, obviously, like I said, I don't think Kojima is a bad game maker. I think he can go overboard at times. I do appreciate some of the Metal Gear Solid games that he has created, and I always wanted Kojima to move on and work on other projects. I appreciate him handing the keys over for MGR when they couldn't get the blade mode mechanic to work. He gave it to Platinum Games. I do think he is a visionary. I do think that he has made good decisions, but I have a bad feeling about Death Stranding, and I'm just not interested until I see and hear more about how this game works. If it really is just some simulator where people can get off to looking at Norman Reedus's crotch, then it's just not for me. And I'm sorry. I'm just not buying it because I'm not into that sort of stuff, and I would prefer actual substance with the gameplay instead. What do you guys think of Death Stranding so far? Comment below, let me know if you appreciated the video. I just had to get this rant discussion off my chest because it's been on my mind for a while now, and the more I see about Death Stranding, the more readily disappointed I am becoming, and my faith in this project is waning each and every single time they reveal something or talk about something. It just is you know, it's like super weird. It could be super cool, but for now it's just I don't care about prompts of Norman Reedus being on a toilet. I don't care about this stuff. You know what this reminds me of? And I'm sure I'm going to light a fire under someone's ass when I say this, but it reminds me of The Sims, where you're controlling digital avatars and you have to do tasks like living in a house or living out a life, etc. That just does not appeal to me in a video game format. Kudos for the people that like that stuff, but I just do not find it appealing. It's not for me, and I am perfectly fine with admitting that. So are you guys still buying Death Stranding day one? Are you going to pass the game? Are you going to be very, very cautious? Are you going to wait for reviews until people actually have their hands on the game? Like, I think the general consensus is, what the fuck is this game? Like, seriously, I don't think it's wrong of me saying that. What in the actual fuck is Death Stranding? Despite being far the fuck out there as a concept, will the open world actually contribute to anything? Because if I'm being honest, I think open world games are a waste of resources if they have nothing in it of value to do. Look at Metal Gear Solid 5, right? Metal Gear Solid 5 had a giant, colossal open world and no wildlife, nothing really going on, no settlements of people living normal lives. You have soldiers in encampments all the time and nothing really interesting in terms of world events or world changes. It's just an open world that's there, and I think that is a waste of resources. I do not like open world games that feel readily empty. Oh man, and I have not forgotten the main event, the guy behind the trash awards every year, Geoff Keighley. You got this slanty-eyed dude, Geoff Keighley, in there. It's like he wants to make love to Kojima. Every single Game Awards is like he looks him in the eyes like a soft little innocent thought, and he wants to make love to Kojima. That's why he's in this fucking game. I'm telling you now, look, Geoff Keighley is going to have Death Stranding at the Game Awards 2019, and I swear it's probably going to win something. And it just came out last month. The Game Awards is in December. This game comes out in November. It's going to win something guaranteed, or get some special speech or special nomination because fucking Geoff Keighley wants to put his fucking lips on Kojima's cock ring. Alright? It's like just a known fact. I'm sorry. It's so blatantly obvious now and pathetic that I just think he wants to be that man's wife now. Seriously, what the fuck is going on? Geoff Stranding. Why is he a character in this game? Fucking why? What is the point of him even being in this game with the cameo? What is the point of Monster energy drinks being in this game? Huh? Like, huh? What? So you have Geoff, Monster energy drinks, and babies that come right out of men's throats for some reason. Like, What the fuck? And then you can cradle a baby and make it angry, or you can cradle a baby and put it to sleep, and there's this weird mechanic there where you're supposed to fucking do this shit, and it's like, what the fuck? What is this life simulator? What is this game? I'm gonna keep asking this question because I believe no one can properly explain it to me. Like, I can see Kojima being a creative individual. At the same time, it's like, what is the point of making this game if you need multiple sequels to possibly explain it? Like, huh? At this rate, this shouldn't even be a $60 game. I know there's the quotes out there that Kojima wanted to be a filmmaker first and a game director second, and I believe that's kind of true. I believe the guy does want to make movies, and he doesn't know how to mesh gameplay and cutscenes properly. Cutscenes should never outweigh gameplay. Cutscenes should never outweigh gameplay. This is why I appreciate what Splinter Cell does. This is why I appreciate it, because everything that happens to Sam Fisher, now I'm not saying that Splinter Cell doesn't have cutscenes, but what I'm saying is mostly everything that's conveyed is short, simple, to the point, and when there's information relayed, it's not through Kodak constantly where you gotta pause the game and get exposition. They talk through Sam via comp set, and it's during gameplay moments, and you're not really interrupted by cutscene or Kodak, right? That's what I like about Splinter Cell over Metal Gear, is that it is a seamless transition of exposition being offered to you over going to the next point and being introduced to cutscene within cutscene within cutscene. That's just annoying. Literally though, someone tell me what Death Stranding is. If someone could tell me in like just 3 words, I would be happy at this notion, but I think you really can't, unless it's like some joke or some troll. I'm gonna look forward to that game in the comment section below. But this is Renegade Operative signing out. I just wanted to get this off my chest about Death Stranding, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. Once again, take care. Accessibility is not a free pass to skate through the entire game. Learn, adapt, and overcome, or I would say they should go back to the olden days where if you got caught trying to cheat, trying to skate your way through on easy mode, then you got ridiculed by the game itself again and again and again.